Hi there. The Dungeon Master Roundtable you're about to watch is just one of a few topics that were covered during a live stream session hosted on the Dicely DnD Twitch channel, and the music you'll hear in this video was created by Tabletop Audio. And now I'll let our guests introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Fred Wheeler. I run the How to D&D YouTube channel. You'll find that I do mostly Dungeons and Dragons, but a lot of 5e stuff as well, a lot of instructional stuff, and I am on Twitter, Facebook, Discord if you actually want to talk to me in person. And I run Light Hall classes now. Would you believe it? I'm actually teaching it online. Taken me 5 years, but yeah, that's me.
How's it going? No fun allowed. And contrary to my name, I sometimes allow fun. I typically cover such things as running your tabletop role-playing games and running modules and things of that nature.
Alex. I am the Bear Bard, or Alex, as but normal people call me. I run Bear Bard Tales. We cover TTRPG stories from all over the sphere, mainly horror stories because that's what people want to hear, but we try to throw some glory stories in there and stuff and try to take, I guess, lessons from that. I try to add in a couple of tips here and there with there, but a lot of narration stuff within the space.
Hey there everybody, this is AJ Pickett. I am a full-time YouTuber that makes lore videos on Dungeons & Dragons and particularly monster ecology in a particularly easy listening and very thorough style with a lot of research put into them, so check it out.
Hi there, my name is Anthony Saul. I'm on the Play Dicely YouTube channel most of the time. Other times, I'm a professional dungeon master. You can find my services at fiverr.com/AnthonyTheDM.
Well, shall we move on to our final question of the evening before I go on to Amazon and buy a whole bunch of dice? So this last one, and I feel like we're kind of getting into the funny mood at this point, so this will be a great way to wrap things up here. Our final question this evening is, what are some fun and interesting ways to use a Helmed Horror in your game? And for this one, let's start off at Fred and go clockwise, so I'm last.
Okay, that's dangerous.
Counterclockwise, yes. Thank you, Anthony.
I was thinking it. I wasn't going to say it, but I was thinking it.
All right, Helmed Horror. So first off, I read everything in the monster manual, and then I had to go and watch AJ Pickett's video on Helmed Horrors to help inspire me, as I often do with these fun with monsters, little questions.
Fair.
As AJ knows, and he's like, he sees, Fred's put thanks, AJ.
I see your comments. Thank you, AJ.
That's all I do is thanks, AJ, and he knows. It must be he's doing a question on one of the monsters again. So I decided that it would be fun to have a Helmed Horror that when you fight, its whole chest opens up, and there's a potential for it to suck you in and trap you in there, like indefinitely, where you have no control over the Helmed Horror. You're stuck in there, and I suppose you could have them die from dehydration and starvation, but I actually like the idea of doing something vastly more horrible, which is that they don't age, don't need to eat, don't need to drink, and they're just stuck there until somebody can figure out how to get them out, if they ever get them out. And it's vastly more horrible as an outcome than perishing. So I thought that would be a fun way of incorporating.
That's a great idea. If the Helmed Horror is actually some sort of cursed torture device, like it's killed so many people that now it hungers after their torment, and it's actually like it's spiked on the inside like an Iron Maiden.
Exactly. It's kind of where the idea was coming from, and also from an idea I had seen in a pre-made adventure, which I won't mention, but I stole the idea from somebody else. The other one is I was going with the Helmed Horror is just armor, and it's very easy for it to sort of be mistaken for animated armor, other than that's usually, well, hopefully, it's obviously more powerful, and often they're sort of depicted as having slightly different colors coming off it, so a bit more glowing here and there and all that sort of stuff. But I actually really like the idea that a Helmed Horror inside has got some sort of tentacled beast. So I'm thinking like a chaos beast, so that when you're fighting this thing, it's not just it's covered in armor and it's swinging its sword and doing its normal thing, and you've got to deal with all of the other stuff that's associated with the Helmed Horror, because they're quite tough. I mean, you throwing spells at them is a really bad idea, but then every once in a while, then tentacles can come out of its arms, its eyes, and cause you all sorts of other grief. And you know, when you kill this thing or destroy this thing, I was going back, kind of thinking back to, is it Krull, the movie, a really old movie where the beasts were armored and they had these funny sort of heads, and when you killed them, the thing that lived inside them would then it would travel into the ground and then return, I think, to the main leader. Exactly. So I was thinking in terms of a Helmed Horror and duplicating that idea. And thank you, AJ. That was exactly what I was sort of looking at. And the last idea was I was watching Real Steel not so long ago, and I'm like, what would happen if you had an abundance or surplus of animated armor, and people decided to stick them into a boxing ring and just have them beat the snot out of each other, you know, like they were magical robots.
Sock of robots.
Exactly, Rock'em Sock. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And then, like, somebody just found themselves a Helmed Horror and decided to throw that in the ring with the animated armor for a boxing match. You know, you see the bits flying off each other as they're pounding each other to pieces as entertainment. You know, let's go down and watch some boxing. It's Rock'em Sock'em animated armor and Helmed Horrors. So those were my ideas.
By the way, AJ, could we get that sound again? I missed it the first time.
It looked like it caused him quite a bit of distress, so I don't know if we should...
That hurts. That hurts.
Oh.
We'll just clip it.
What about you, Trevor?
For the channel.
Alrighty, it's a Helmed Horror, and the thing that's special about this is it's undestroyable. It's just a suit of armor, and it's just after you, and yeah, you can drop it down to 0 HP and it clatters to the ground, but after an hour it gets right back up. And then it gets into the question of, okay, so like your players beat it up the first time and then they walk away because that's what players do, and then the thing comes back and then they fight it the second time, and then that's when your players start getting creative. They're like, okay, so maybe we try and destroy it, and then they figure out, oh, this thing is a magical suit of infernal armor, we cannot destroy this thing, we can't yeet into the fire, we can't bang it up, what are we going to do? And then they start getting creative with it. Are they going to try and like tie some pieces off? Are they going to throw things down the cliff? Are they going to try and strap it to the bird? And no matter what the situation is, eventually the Helmed Horror is actually going to try and recombobulate, go straight for the party and try and beat it up. And the thing about this is this is a great reoccurring villain, because in the beginning, this thing is scary. You know, you're running for your life. You're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But then eventually, once your players get to a high enough level, oh, hey, it's the Helmed Horror. Hey, my turn. I'll beat it up this time. And, you know, the fighter hits it, 3 times in a row. Oh, hey, it's my turn. The wizard, casts a lightning bolt, destroys it. And eventually, you have this reoccurring villain, which doesn't speak. You don't know. The only motivation it has is wants to kill you. But it's a reflection of the journey and the progress you've made. And it's a beautiful thing. And eventually your players do get powerful enough where they can, maybe they yeet it to the space. Maybe they, send it to a different dimension. And then it'll truly be a rewarding experience.
So what you're saying is the real reward was the armor we killed along the way?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll have to come up with a new answer because Revenant Helmed Horror was my answer. But that's freaking brilliant. I like that. Bear Bard, how about you?
So my first one I wrote off because I figured it was going to be like the easy one that everyone goes for, and Fred already kind of got it, where you go with like the Five Nights at Freddy's kind of armor goes and absorbs you and it becomes substance. So I figured since that was gonna be everyone's first thought, my other one, have you guys ever seen Men in Black, the original, the good one? So you remember the guy that he died and he had like the little alien inside him? So that was my starting point. So follow me here. fairy mech suits. So inside each one is a little fairy, and that's their version of a mech suit. Just
I love
and that's
that
they so you have an army of fairy mech suits that are just these crowned these helmed horrors, and that's it. That's just, you have Golem, the whole bunch guarding the city. Inside each one is a little fairy.
That's so funny. Like, they're all bikers, but instead of motorbikes, they have these mech suits.
That's
A
right.
bunch of pixies wearing like these leather jackets with like spikes coming out of the shoulders. They're like, let's strap in. Throws on some sunglasses.
It's like a what is that? The Pixar movie that came out. The
Onward.
That's Onward. That's how the pixies were in that one. They were all bikers, and then they
Yeah.
learned to fly. But yeah, they were all strapped up, spiked up,
Pacific Rim, but Helmed Horrors.
and fairies. Exactly. To them, it
Amazing.
basically is a kaiju.
I've got a project which is coming up, which is I've been invited to do a stretch goal on a monster manual Kickstarter type thing, and my topic will be beetle knights of the Feywild, that are essentially tournament beetle knights that are attached to a treant, and the treants are like nerds, wargamers who propagate these things, and so you've got these two treants standing there, quite serious, watching the events going on. There's banners and pennants, and they're fighting for the honor of their particular home tree, and it's a full-on, medieval fair type thing going, and there's jousting and all that sort of stuff, and they're fighting for the damselfly or ladybug. Yeah. So they're kind of like a living suit of armor, but beetle-sized.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. It's
It's
gonna
like
be
the
great.
flea circus, but with Renaissance fair beetles.
Is it me? Do we skip over the grayed out person?
Yeah, I think Flutes is gonna hold off on this one.
Right. Okay, so I've got some notes here. We've got Undead Warforged. So it's an Undead Warforged, Revenant Warforged. Animated magic items. Each part of the suit is actually a magic item, which is jazzing off some sort of magical synergy between 3 or 4 different pieces of magical armor. So it's this mismatch of different magical items. And you're like, wait a minute, isn't that a Helm of Intellect? It's like, yeah, you defeat this thing, you get a cache of magical armor. The other thing could be one of the ways that they describe the additional motive, independence and self-direction of the Helmed Horror, because it is a construct, is that it's got some sort of a spirit or an elemental which is actually powering it. So the Helmed Horror is actually trying to be destroyed because that's the only way the elemental can be released. So it's a fanatical fight to the destruction. The other thing is it's living metal, like the Christine car in the movie Christine. It's like living metal. It could be that somebody repurposed the magical component metals that were in a magical item that was intelligent, like a sword or something, reforged it into a suit of armor that caused all sorts of problems, and now it's a Helmed Horror that's going around, and it's messed up because it's been reforged into something that was never supposed to be. Or it could be that the Helmed Horror is actually a drone of the big bad evil guy, and if you harm the Helmed Horror or like drain the life of the Helmed Horror, you can actually harm the big bad evil guy because his life forces or their life force is actually powering it. So that could be an interesting way. If the player characters figure that out, then they can capture the Helmed Horror and actually mess up the bad guy because he can't detach himself from it. Or just using some sort of a draining effect would cause the big bad guy to go, whoa, and just switch off the Helmed Horror, and it just crumples to the ground, a pile of trash. Or it's a projection into the prime material plane from some otherworldly entity, like this is like the Witch King of Angmar. So it looks like an empty suit of armor walking around, but in actual fact there's some sort of invisible entity on the inside there that's existing in a parallel plane of existence, and that's its footprint in the world. Get rid of that, and suddenly it can't pick up and manipulate anything. It can just observe. So yeah, it's like a vehicle idea.
Oh, that last one's really cool. I like that. It's like they're
What you
trapped on
said-
the ethereal, but the suit of armor is the material representation. Oh,
when you said the collection of magic items, I saw something in Denny's brain flick, and
Nope.
I feel like I may see that in the future.
Nope, you're getting no more magical items.
The bonus with the projection into the suit that's worn by an ethereal creature is that if you defeat it and it's still intact, or you repair it, it's a suit of armor that can now impact ethereal creatures. So you can punch them in the face.
Do love punching ghosts.
I love that idea too. Like starting with that it's a projection, and it's like it's actually like a good person, but they can't talk. They can't quite get it through. So your party thinks it's a bad thing to start attacking it, but it's just someone asking for help. Like no guys, stabbed in the face by the party.
Also, exploding Helmed Horrors are cool. That can reform.
Oh.
So they're just like dung dung dung, attack a couple of times with the sword, and then they're just like shrapnel, and then the shrapnel works its way through your body, and then crawls its way across, reforms Terminator style, and back into the Helmed Horror again. It's dripping with your gore.
Nasty. That got dark.
Explosions, fun for the whole family. Anthony.
So I was thinking like taking the ability to be immune to certain spells and maybe switching it up, maybe adding an extra effect for when those spells in particular are cast at the Helmed Horror, like reflecting it back, like regaining hit points. Maybe it becomes fully immune for a round, or has like an extra action that gets recharged when it takes damage from a spell of that nature. And the other thing I was thinking of is perhaps you find it in a dungeon and you have to use it to navigate traps that cast the spells it's immune to, whereas otherwise your characters couldn't reach those things. So there's like, I don't know, a prismatic wall that you can't go through because you're going to die, but this guy is just like, no, I'm good. He just walks through.
Yeah, I really like that. And you took my second idea, kind of.
Got him. Denny says nothing.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end of tonight. No, I'm gonna expand on that a bit. Kind of the like using a Helmed Horror to like as a kind of benefit. Perhaps there's like a city next to like some natural like radioactive magical or like active volcano or something like that, and they're like, the people in charge of the city are like, we need you guys to transfer your consciousness into a party of these Helmed Horrors because they can navigate that totally fine. You'll have to use the abilities of the suits. Those of you who have like martial ability can keep those skills. The spellcasters, however, are going to be at a bit of a disadvantage, and you have to navigate through these natural zones that people would be a bit more killed instantly in. Yeah, so that was kind of my idea on using these guys.
That's really cool. I love that.
Basically, there's an episode of Doctor Who that was like that with the Flesh. They were like mining, I think it's gas, and so they used this plastic flesh. They formed into them, but then once they transferred the conscious out of it, the flesh was left. It was actually its own conscience, and there was that whole thing. But there's a Doctor Who episode that was.
Which Doctor was that? I think I've seen that.
Like the nesting
that was
consciousness or something.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it was Matt Smith.
Okay,
that was like,
remember that?
Yeah, that was kicking off. I think his second season. That was like the whole thing when Amy got pregnant, and yeah, it was good. It was part of a really good run in there. So
also old school, those who like Labyrinth, there's this one scene with this big set of fortified doors which close, and these two and built into the doors there's two parts of this huge big mechanoid that's piloted by little goblins, and it's like, and it's got this massive axe and stuff. That's perfectly fine for a Helmed Horror as well. It actually comes together from use like messing up a trap or something like that, and this portal closes and you're like, we're gonna have to get through the door. Nope, it's a little bit more complicated than that. You've just activated the security system.
So just shout out to Labyrinth in general, starring David Bowie's Bulge and David Bowie as a sporting character.
and his shiny crystal balls.
Oh no!
Exactly.
Dear. I've now decided that, AJ, I'm going to call all of my Helmed Horrors Christine. I think that's the most appropriate
You've
name.
got to play that old-timey, creepy old-timey music too.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Christine.
Oh,
So many horror movies, I can't even listen to 1950s music anymore.
is there anything else anybody wanted to add before we begin wrapping up here this evening?
I love you all.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was super fun.
I love me too.
Oh, you're my favorite, Trevor.
Why?
I don't have to answer that. You can take that up with my lawyer. That brings us to the end of all the topics that we discussed during this Dungeon Master Roundtable livestream. If there's any creative ideas or anything we might have missed with how to use Helmed Horrors in your games, be sure to comment underneath the video. We would love to hear what ideas you guys have, and be sure to follow all of the guests that appeared on this channel. You can find the links to their channels down in the description. Be sure to leave them a subscribe. Leave a subscribe here. Leave a like. I appreciate you guys having been here through all these. And also be sure to catch us when we do these live streams on Twitch as well. You can find that in the banner of the YouTube channel or in the description below. And until next time, may you always play Dicely.